How do you make a successful and more profitable brand? How do you launch a profitable brand and how do you charge more money? And really, it comes back to that word that's called brand. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It is Thursday, July 18th, I guess. You only get one of them, so let's make it a good one. My name's Dave Shrein, and the thing that I want to talk about today is how do you make a successful and more profitable brand? How do you launch a profitable brand and how do you charge more money? And really, it comes back to that word that's called brand. When we think about brand, a lot of times what we think first and foremost is the idea of a logo, the idea of an image, the idea of a marker. If I can just get something that looks good. So right here, I've got Cardinals, right? Arizona Cardinals. This is their brand, right? Well, no, this is not their brand. This right here is their logo. You see, a brand is not a logo. A brand encapsulates everything about your company. A brand communicates who you are. A brand offers up value beyond what the feature, the product, or the service is. And so if you think about different companies that are out there that charge more than their competition, usually they're able to charge more because of their brand. So, I'd like to hear what are some of the different brands you think of when I say a brand that is a premium brand, a brand that's able to charge more. Right off the bat, there's the worldwide brands, right? Like there's Nike. They're able to charge more than Reebok and Adidas and Under Armour. There's Apple. Apple is able to charge more than Dell, than Hewlett Packard, than Windows. What are some other premium brands? In the world of recording, the recording industry, there's these microphones called Neumanns, and Neumanns are traditionally really fantastic microphones, and they can charge more. In the world of videography, right? There's the Red camera, the Red brand, and they charge a lot. There is, the Sony brand, and the Sony brand might not be able to charge as much as, say, a Red brand. When you think of televisions, Samsung can typically charge more than Vizio. There's all sorts of different brands out there, and the brand is not the logo. You can't charge more for your products or services because you have a logo that looks better than somebody else's. Mm-mm. You can't charge more because you have better colors than somebody else's. No, your brand is your overall experience. Your brand is how people feel when they think about you. Your brand is what people think when your name comes up. Your brand is how they feel about the quality. And so if you think about Chick-fil-A, let's talk about Chick-fil-A for a second. If you think about them, what is something that's true about the Chick-fil-A brand? What do you think, Carlos? Chick-fil-A. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Chick-fil-A? They're super nice. And what do they always say?
My pleasure.
My pleasure. That's exactly right. Chick-fil-A has this amazing brand reputation of being incredibly hospitable, incredibly nice, and you'll always hear them saying, my pleasure. They'll never say you're welcome. They'll always say my pleasure. And that's intentional branding. What are some other brand experiences that we could throw out there? Something that they just always, Buffer, what's their brand? How do you feel about Buffer's brand? Buffer is a social media scheduling tool. It allows you to schedule out all of your social media to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, all at one time. How do you feel? What do you think when you think of their brand?
Just how engaging they are.
And what do you mean by engaging?
They always respond to a tweet, whatever message, and they're always very positive.
Yeah. So what he said was they're always responding to whatever you tweet, whatever you post on Facebook, whatever you're putting out there, they're always responding and their response is always positive. And that's actually goes back to a brand core that they have of happiness. One of their core brands in their customer service is this idea of happiness. And so that shows up in the way they interact with all of their customers. So here's the deal. How do you charge more? Well, you create a brand, and you create a brand that goes above and beyond in every single area that your company has engagement with the customer and on behalf of the customer. That's how you charge more money. You create a brand that thinks of everything before the customer thinks of it. So let's talk about how do you create a brand through your website. First and foremost, it's the language that you use. How do you describe your company? How do you describe how you feel about your customers? How do you describe how you feel about your work? You see, if you've got a solid brand, like a brand strategy, you're going to be intentional with every single time we talk about our customers, we're going to have this tone. And whenever we talk about our work, we're going to have this, this vibe that comes through it. So at Shrein Media, one of our brand values is team success first. And how does that translate into the way we interact with our clients, the way we interact with each other, the office culture that we have? As well, first and foremost, we never point fingers. We never say, you didn't do this, or we never say, you messed this up. We always have a conversation. And the conversation is never about finding who messed up or finding who was the catalyst. The conversation is always about how do we make sure that our team as a whole succeeds. And so when somebody does something really, really well, we celebrate that person, but we also celebrate that it allows the entire company to look good and it allows the entire company to move forward. And when we fall short, it's never about identifying who was the culprit that allowed it to fall short. No, it's like, how do we come alongside? And so I'll have this conversation with Carlos or with Jordan or with Barb when we have something that's not getting done. And I'll say, hey, what do you need from me to help get this going? What do you need from me to help finish this out? What do you need from me to move this forward so that we can celebrate the success at the end? And that really comes back to this idea of team success first. What it means is that when we're in a meeting and we're talking with each other and we're throwing out different ideas, if I come up with an idea that I really like, and then the team comes up with an idea and everyone together thinks that, you know what, the team's idea is going to move the company further than my idea. Team success first is saying, okay, I'm going to advocate for my idea. But ultimately, if we decide as a team that we're going to go this other direction, when I step out, it's team success first. It's not me holding on to what I want or what I think, but it's me submitting what I want and what I think as a peer, as a coworker, to the greater good of where the company's going. Now, as the leader of the company and the founder and the owner, there's a lot of times where we'll have that conversation and I'll say, you know what, we're still going to go this direction. And I have that right as the owner of the company. But the overall idea here is that I want my team to be able to give input and I want the team to move forward together in unison. So that's what team success, that's what creating a company brand inside looks like. Now, how does that manifest itself to the customer? Well, it's overall team success first, which is ultimately pointing to in the best interest of the customer or in the best interest of our customers. And so when we kind of submit our wants and desires and opinions and the things that we think we should do to that team success first, it's ultimately furthering what our team wants. And you can charge more for that. How do you charge more? You say, one of the values that we have as a company is team success first. And this means that we will go above and beyond as individuals in order to ensure that the team succeeds. And when our team succeeds as your marketing agency, you succeed as a business. So that's one way that you can charge more when it comes to your brand. Now let's talk about how does it show up on your website beyond just the language that you use? Well, it shows up in the visuals too, right? It shows up in creating clean visuals, consistent visuals. If you've got a website where the visuals, where the icons and the photos and the graphics and everything's disproportionate and not color schemed together, well, that communicates something about your company. That communicates something about your brand. It's saying, hey, we don't care about these things for our own company, so we're not going to care about them for you. That's ultimately what you're communicating to the person that comes and checks things out. So someone brought up the example of Casper, the mattress company. So if you go to casper.com, you will see that they have a very clean and consistent visual brand. All throughout the entire website, they have a single color scheme that they apply to, a single image stream that they apply to the website, a single font style that they apply to the website. Actually, there's multiple fonts, but it's a consistent style. They do a really good job. And so if they are clean and consistent with their website, do you know what that means about their mattresses? Their mattresses, you can believe that they're going to be clean and consistent, right? You're not going to get the one-off crappy mattress. You're not going to get a mattress that comes and it's got packaging smeared all over the side. No, like you can believe in that brand. You see, the brand is not the logo. The logo represents what the brand is. So let's talk about your writing. How do you see that show up in your writing? Well, if you write super, super technical, and if you write very, very by the book, that's communicating something about your brand. That's communicating that we do everything by the book. Now, if you're in accounting and if you're in legal, in the legal field, or if you're in the medical field, that's super valuable. You are going to try to appeal to people who really are looking for that consistency and buy the book and super formal type of brand. But if you're in the creative industry, that's going to show people that they're really not that flexible. Are they super creative? No, they do everything by the book. So you want to flip that around and you want to make sure that your writing has personality and flair. Now, there is a way for those to cross over. And I think in the health field right now, there's a big opportunity for healthcare companies to become more and more friendly and more relational in the way they communicate online, and then look for pockets where they can display their professionalism and their health expertise by the book. But overall, you're seeing here that your brand is not a logo. Your brand is actually a culmination of everything you do as a business. Now, how does it mean you can charge more money? Here's the deal. If you begin investing in your visual brand and you hone that and you invest money and time and energy into creating a visual brand that says, whenever we use icons, this is what the icons look like. Whenever we use fonts, these are the fonts that we look like. Whenever we use photos, these are the photos that we're going to use. Whenever our logo gets printed, these are what we're going to use. If you begin to invest in that, then everything that you apply your colors, your logos, and your visuals to are going to have a strong, consistent look. And it's going to say you are a consistent company that cares about the way you appear. Let's talk about your products. Your products, the branding that you want to communicate through your products on your website, you want to give comprehensive descriptions. You want to go the extra mile to anticipate what questions customers, potential customers, are going to ask about your products, and you want to answer those ahead of time. And when you answer those ahead of time, you're communicating, hey, we know our stuff. And that builds confidence. And people are willing to pay more when it comes to, I'm going to pay a little bit more, but I'm confident that I'm going to get what I am paying for because of all of these things about their brand. So overall, you are able to charge more because you've created a better experience. You're able to charge more because you've elevated the expectation. You're able to charge more because you have set yourself apart from all of the other people doing the same thing as you. So here's one final thing that I really want to talk about, and it's this idea of investing in your brand. It's this idea of investing in your products, in your services, in your businesses. Now, a lot of times folks will say, well, you know what, when it comes to my logo, I just need to get a logo out there. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money on it. When they see what we charge, we start at $2,000 for a logo, and typically they run between $3,000 and $4,000. Why? Because we don't deliver a design. We deliver a visual brand, and you can charge more for that. And so when someone says, it's just too much money, or I really don't want to spend any money on this right now, and they've got this idea, or they've got a business, or they've got a product, the thing that I come back with and I say, well, do you believe what you're going to do? Or do you believe that this logo, that this brand investment is going to make money for you? Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, then you need to spend money on it. If you don't believe that having a good brand is going to make money for you, don't spend money on it. If you don't believe that your business idea is going to generate income, then don't spend money on it. If you don't believe that your service is going to be profitable, get into a different service. But if you believe that what you do, what you have to say, what you have to sell is going to be profitable and people are going to be willing to pay you for it, then you need to make the investment to elevate that product, that service, that brand narrative to get it in front of people. Don't invest money in things that aren't going to make you money. But if you believe that it will make you money, be willing to part with the money and the energy that you have in order to elevate it and accelerate it. So those are a few thoughts here on creating a profitable brand that you can charge more for. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, and this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. This is stuff that you need to bring other people in on. One of the things that we'll do is we'll go and we'll sit down with a company for multiple days, and we will go through their entire story, and we'll extract who they are, the things they value, the things they want to become, things they want their customers to think when they think about their company. And we'll take all of that and we'll put it into a visual design, we'll put it into a website, we'll put it into a set of custom branded icons, we'll put it into a freebie download, we'll put it into product images, we'll put it into whatever the end result is that they're going after, into their proposals, into their blog posts. We'll inject that once, twice, over and over and over and over again, so that ultimately when people see their company, they know exactly what they're getting, they know exactly what they're paying for, and they're willing to pay big bucks for it. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to connecting with you outside of Facebook, outside of Twitter, outside of Periscope, YouTube, all of these channels. Send me an email if you need. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.